Hello, and thank you for joining us for the news at noon. I'm Jurnee Taylor. Let's take a look at our headlines today. This week's special session now in the books. A look at the big pieces of legislation that are now law coming up. Plus, an outbreak at the University of Arkansas has some students recovering. More on this later. Finally, the summer of labor strikes could intensify tonight as the Auto Workers Union prepare to walk. We'll have more details in 11 minutes. But first, a look at weather. Scott likes to call it Friday Junior, or no, I like to call it
Friday Eve.
Friday Eve, and I call it Friday Junior.
That's right.
Long story short, Friday is on its way.
That's exactly right. We always have your weekend weather in sight, and going into the weekend, I think we're going to see some changes from what we've noticed even today. It's kind of gloomy, overcast for many Arkansans. We've seen some sprinkles, some light rain in South Arkansas. Satellite and radar, though, here at the noon hour shows most of us are dry. The further north you go, the fewer clouds you might run into, so our temperatures there slightly warmer here at the noon hour. 77 currently in Pine Bluff and Little Rock, 80 currently in Stuttgart, but where we have fewer of those clouds, we notice temperatures in Clinton nearing 80 degrees already compared to where we've noticed a little bit of rain there in southern Arkansas, low 70s there. Forecast for today takes us to 83, so not a bad day overall. We'll see those temperatures rather mild. One or two more raindrops can't be ruled out in South Arkansas. Otherwise, a pretty comfortable day. However, heading into the weekend, we're trending warmer, and then by early next week, we're probably looking at low 90s once more. I've got that information, a brand new drought monitor, an update on the current drought issues in Arkansas, and any potential relief from that coming up in your 7-day forecast in about 13 minutes.
All right, thank you, Scott. It was a busy day at the Capitol as lawmakers wrap up this special session. Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders signed several bills into law just about an hour ago, including in the list 3 pieces of legislation she called on lawmakers to pass just last week. The biggest, cuts to the state's income tax. Individual rates now sit at 4.4%, and the rate for corporations is now 4.8%. The governor also signed a bill that bans COVID vaccine mandates for state employees. And the bill that caused the biggest debate this week, changing Arkansas's Freedom of Information Act, was also signed after undergoing major changes. We're going to wrap up our special session coverage tonight at 5 and 6. In Washington, Republican Senator Mitt Romney says he will not seek re-election next year, ending a decades-long political career. Romney, who is 76, cited his age and called for a new generation of leaders to step forward. Ed O'Keefe has more from the White House.
And I think it's time for guys like me to get out of the way and have people in the next generation step forward.
Utah Republican Senator Mitt Romney is 76 and would have been well into his 80s if he'd won another 6-year term.
The issues of the day relate to China, climate change, AI, and a lot of guys in their 80s who know how to deal with those issues.
A recent CBS News poll found nearly 8 in 10 Americans might agree, favoring a maximum age for elected officials, with most fearing they might be out of touch or unable to do the job past age 75. Romney is among a growing list of aging senators.
The Senate has become the most privileged nursing home in the country.
On the campaign trail, Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley first raised the idea of mental competency tests for any office holder over age 75.
These people need to know when to leave.
And in an interview with CBS Evening News' Norah O'Donnell, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis also raised concerns about age and the presidency.
You're talking about a job where you need to give it 100%. We need an energetic president.
President Biden is 80 and would be 86 by the end of a second term. Former President Donald Trump is 77, 82 if he wins and serves a full second term.
I think it would be a great thing if both President Biden and former President Trump were to stand aside and let their respective party pick someone in the next generation.
So what should be the maximum age of office holders? Well, our CBS News poll finds that the majority of Americans across age groups and parties would cap the age of elected officials at 70. About a third of the Senate is older than 70. Most of Congress is under that age. And then, of course, there are the 2 frontrunners vying to live at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Ed O'Keefe, CBS News, the White House.
Interesting. Well, in developing news, the long-term mayor of Whitehall faces legal issues after being arrested in Florida. Mayor Noel Foster was charged for drunk driving in Pensacola on Labor Day. He was released about 7 hours later. Foster told the Pine Bluff commercial he plans to plead guilty and pay a fine for the DUI when he's in a Florida courtroom on the 26th of this month. Foster says he plans to enroll in a diversion program. Police in Little Rock are investigating a homicide that happened last night. Officers responded to shots fired near Canis Road shortly after 6 p.m. One person was found on the scene with a gunshot wound and was quickly taken to a hospital in the area where they later died. The investigation remains ongoing, so details are limited, but police ask anyone with information to call them. The new school year has been in session over a month, yet we continue to see a rise in the number of school threats in Arkansas. Just yesterday, an elementary school student in Wynne brought a gun to school. No one was hurt, but it's not the only time or threat we've seen this year. The Pulaski County Sheriff's Office has responded to multiple bomb threats to schools.
I think that students don't understand the severity of making those types of threats. If you may be trying to get out of a quiz or upset at a teacher or another student, but is it worth getting criminal charges behind that?
The school district asks parents to talk to their kids about the seriousness of these threats. Prosecutors have discretion on charges, but children caught making a school threat could face a misdemeanor offense. Last month, an outbreak of E. coli affected 42 people at the University of Arkansas. 4 people were hospitalized, some suffering severe complications. Symptoms include severe stomach cramps, diarrhea, and vomiting. The CDC says about 5 to 10% of people develop a life-threatening complication. One student went into kidney failure. Now, state health officials do not believe the outbreak is linked to the university's public dining failure. A federal judge declared the latest version of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, or DACA, illegal on Wednesday. However, the program has not completely been terminated. Natalie Brand reports from Washington.
Hundreds of thousands of dreamers, undocumented immigrants who were brought to this country as children, suffered a legal setback Wednesday. A federal judge in Texas declared the latest version of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, or DACA, unlawful. But the judge stopped short of a complete termination of the program, allowing current DACA beneficiaries to be able to continue to renew their work permits and be protected from deportation while closing the program to new applicants. The ruling comes nearly 3 months since advocates celebrated the 11th anniversary of DACA and called for a path to citizenship. More than 500,000 immigrants are enrolled in the program, including Aurelie Hernandez.
I came to the U.S. when I was in grade school to reunite with my mom, my dad, and my little brother. That was more than 30 years ago. This year I will be 40.
Congress has worked on several bipartisan proposals to come up with a permanent legal solution for DACA recipients and other young immigrants, but there's been disagreement over the pathway to citizenship and overall efforts to address the nation's immigration crisis.
We clearly have a broken immigration system, and we need to fix it and do so in a bipartisan way.
The Biden administration is expected to appeal the latest federal ruling, and the case is likely to reach the U.S. Supreme Court. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The judge in this case issued a similar ruling in 2021 when he found the original Obama administration memo that created DACA in 2012 was illegal. An American cave rescuer is sharing his survival story after being trapped 3,000 feet underground in Turkey for 11 days. Mark Dickey began suffering from stomach bleeding while exploring underground with his fiancee last month. Medical teams helped devise solutions to help him survive, even going to extremes such as widening some of the cave's narrow passageways. Dickey had medical assistance most of the rescue and was hooked up to an IV on a stretcher.
Caving is not inherently a dangerous sport, but you're in a dangerous location. There's this point that you cross, which is kind of like you get hurt after this and you very well might die, right?
Well, doctors are still looking for what caused Dickey's medical emergency, but he says as soon as the doctors give him the green light, he'll go back underground and continue his cave exploration. Coming up, automakers union members could soon form a walkout if negotiations with auto companies don't come to an agreement. More on the THB after the break.
Temperatures over the last several days haven't been all too that bad, below average in fact, but I am tracking a warm-up heading into your weekend. We'll take a look at just how hot it's going to get and any potential rain chances that may impact some of those outdoor plans. That and more coming up in your 7-day forecast after the break.